Hello. I don't know why I'm so nervous about doing this, but yeah, weird. So this is a story about what started for me in 2019, around October 2019, and what probably two or three people actually know what happened, and it's still something which I struggle to talk about. So basically, this is all about mental health, stress, and everything. And I say mental health, but it's yeah, this this is something which I has changed me forever. Basically, this in a lot of ways made me a better person, but it's one of the hardest, without doubt, the hardest thing I've ever to deal with. So it started 2019, and it basically I found these two lumps in my lower back. Now, it was after watching a episode of Gogglebox, a stand up to, I still can't say the word, but STC. And there's this guy, and he had these lumps on him, and you think nothing of it when you watch it. And, just sitting there with me on fiance watching it, and, think, as I say, think nothing of it. I went up for a shower that night, and I found these two lumps, and they were pretty much, symmetrical in my spine. They were right down the bottom, and straight away, that's when everything completely changed for the next 2.5 years. It was I don't know. It was the most strangest thing when I think about it now, because I am better, and it was just a mind change. My mind went, and I was absolutely convinced. I didn't sleep that night. I even, when obviously cuddling in bed, I reached Stash and Mel, fiance's back, and to see if she had them, and that's how much it started that quickly. Now I went into work the next day in a weird frame of mind, and even asked someone there. I got to the car park, and one of my colleagues was there, and said, "Look, do you think these are anything of concern?" And she was like, "No, nothing," and things like this. And that's it. That day everything changed for me, and it was just mentally. When you think about it, it's like a fear of flying, I suppose. Someone who's somebody's scared of flying, terrified of flying. It was like constantly like that for the next 2.5 years. So it all developed from these. So I went to the walk-in centre. The doctor looked at them. This was, the same day, because I was so concerned. Rung 111, and they said no, absolutely fine, nothing there, benign, completely benign. But it was, I would probably say a solid 2.5 weeks of googling, constant Google, lumps in back. What are these? What are these? What are these? What are these? And it was, plain to see. Even my mum told me that I had them since birth, or had them since I was young. But it was just completely blinded in my head, and I couldn't, you can't. It's just I couldn't think of anything else. Absolutely nothing else. I didn't care about work. I didn't care about how I look. But you don't with this hairstyle. But I couldn't even. I lost everything. It was just. I was an avid gym goer. I went to the gym every day, and that did start again because I was going over far too much. But the story goes on, and basically it's got to the point where I was so stressed. I was constantly googling it, constantly looking at this. I needed help, so I went eating, and I was going to the gym twice a day, every single day. And I've always been a bigger built person, and I was so concerned about weight loss because I was losing weight so much. And this obviously triggers in your mind. You think, "Okay, wait a second, something's going on here." But I just couldn't. I cut sugar out, cut all chocolate out. I couldn't eat anything. And I was losing weight, and I was thinking, right, great. And it got to the point where I was weighing myself 3-4 times a day, and it was different every single time. And that, and again, it was just massively concerning me to the point where that's it. I thought it was it. I generally thought it was it. And I was due to get married, and I thought I would never get there. And I know it's horrible, people do go through these situations and do have things wrong with them, but that fear, the constant fear, ridiculed me. It absolutely crippled me. But it's just from there it went to a different level. The weight loss started. I then started on sertraline, the tablets, and the side effects for them were horrendous. Couldn't eat anything. I was just lost my appetite, and the stress was just relentless. I was getting aches and pains in my body and stuff like this I'd never experienced before. Funnily enough, I didn't get any headaches, which was weird because I normally get migraines, but I just didn't, and it was all centered around my stomach and my bowels. This is where it gets gross. So then that changed completely. My digestive system changed. Normally been once a day, once every 2 days, and it was still once a day, but it was different. And then I saw blood one day, and I was going to the gym. This was, I weren't eating, stressed to ridiculous levels, absolutely, ruining myself basically. And I saw, a lot of blood came out, and it just didn't make sense. And that was it again. My mind went mad. I ended up going to the doctors. They checked everything again. Everything was fine. I had a flexible endoscope, whatever it is, and they saw some inflamed area at the bottom. Nothing major, but again, it was just I couldn't shake it. Couldn't shake that fear, and it got to I eventually told my fiance about my concerns and stuff, and I never told anyone the true extent of it. And whilst I wish I did, I went to hypnotherapy, things like this. I went to all these sort of things, and whilst I wish I did tell someone, it's just very hard, I feel, for someone to understand, because health anxiety, or whatever they call it, hypochondriac, whatever, is something completely different. And you fear, I think it was the fear that every day I thought I was going to die. And I suppose I've got myself to where I am, and now I think about it, it's horrible. Yeah. The symptom, I'd say the final story was basically that I went on antipsychotics and they didn't work, went on other things, they didn't work, and finally it just got through to me, like my bowels, because that's my main concern, and my back's nothing now, I don't care about that, but my bowels were, and I was seeing blood all the time. I was like, oh Christ, what's that? But it was probably tomatoes. I used to look at it very closely, and you could see my skin and stuff. But I just couldn't think, And this is the power, this is the power of the mind. And it all ended when, I had my checkup after a year for the bleeding before, and there's never been massive blood or anything like that. And I hadn't lost weight, I put weight on, and it was then that I had a full colonoscopy and nothing was found. It was negative. They took biopsies, they were all negative. Everything was normal, and since then it's all been back to normal. Everything, my mind, everything. But this video is more towards the power of the mind, like how I was so controlled for 2.5 years. Nothing mattered to me. Fiance was the only thing, but I just lost, the level of stress and everything where you put yourself into, and you think, and I put myself into other people's perspective of depression, anxiety, and stuff like that, and I just think, this controls people's minds. You can see why. And it's, it's not just your mental effects, it's not just your effects that you go through in your head. The physical effects are very real, and I just can't, the physical effects I had were endless. Couldn't sleep, and I'm a heavy sleeper. And it's funny that you go through all of these symptoms, all of these body symptoms, your aches, your pains, pain under my ribs, pain in my chest, pain in my stomach, everywhere. The bleeding, obviously, and it can, COVID was obviously about, and there's question marks obviously over that, because it can cause some of these things, but yeah, it is what it is. But it's one of them situations where your mind is so powerful. Now I feel I am better. I'm so much better. I'm off all tablets, I'm off everything. Bowels have gone back to normal. Everything's back to normal since I've had my results back. But it's just, I just need to share this, because I am not a big social media person. I don't use Facebook. I use Instagram rarely, and things like that. And I never post on YouTube. And I just want to get this out there, that you can overcome things. You can overcome adversity. You can overcome anything. And when you put yourself in that perspective, that you fear for your life every single day, and you're worried about something taking it away from you, just think about that for a second, because there's a lot of people out there who probably feel worthless, who probably feel like they're not worth anything. Of course you are. You're in a position where you've got a life, and there is so many people out there who wish for that. And I don't mean it in a horrible way, but it's something so powerful. Your mind is so powerful, and it controlled me so much in a negative way. When you do the flip side of that, it's not always as easy, but you're capable of it. And to get myself out of that position and out of that situation was incredibly tough. I used to walk the beaches crying. I used to go down Gorleston Beach. I live over on the coast, and I used to just walk along there crying, because I thought that was it. And you think that you're so convinced, that's it. You're so convinced. Your mind is done. Your mind is made up, but there's no logical reason why it is. And it's just something you dig deep and think, and you think about, it sounds cliche, but the good things, and you think about, actually, hang on, does this add up, does this add up, does this add up? Because everything actually is, when you think about it, a sum, because you add everything up in your head, you add reason up in your head, you add, why does someone do this, or why does someone do that, or why did I do this, or why did I do that? You add it up, it equals something. And I suppose when I added everything together, it maybe think, why have I been doing this? It got to the point where I was, when I was concerned about weight, I go into people's properties and I was weighing myself, and I've never ever liked that. That is not me, and that's how much your mind can control you. And once you free your mind from that, once you get yourself out of that cave, I suppose, I see things every single day now. I see things in a different light, every single thing, because you appreciate a blue sky, you appreciate the wind, and it sounds so cliche, but it's so true, because you look at the good things, and they're the things that matter. I know I obviously was concerned about something beginning with C, which I still can't say, so call it PTSD or whatever you want, but it's something I have to now live with, but I've learned from it. And my God, I respect everything in a different manner completely. You are strong enough, and you are good enough to do and help yourself, and you should never silence and suffer. You should never suffer in silence. And till I told somebody, I never obviously wanted to do anything to myself, because I wanted to live. That was the whole point of it. But I look at that and I just think, Christ, I was ruined, absolutely ruined. And when you get stressed, when you get anxiety, stress, whatever you want to call it, get out and try and get out of it early, because the deeper it goes, the longer it goes on, the worse it gets. And that is the message. Do not let your mind rule you. Do not let your mind rule your body. Do not let your mind rule what you do, because it can go off on its own and do its own thing. But you are your own person. You know who you are. And anybody is capable of anything. That's what I've realised through this. Anybody is capable of anything. If you never be told you're not good enough. And this is not what the video is about, but it's about the symptoms of stress and anxiety and how they cripple you. But when I think about it, it was all about controlling your mind. Of course, saying that ain't Ant Milton, but it was all about controlling your mind, and you have to you have to get that back to your mind. It's like someone else rules your mind. Someone else goes into your mind and says, right, you're going to think this today, John. It's not going to happen, and that's where you have to get control over it. And that's more to this point. Stress will ruin you if you let it. Stress will completely destroy you. There's endless symptoms, and I am now proven fact of that. Because it's just everything. So don't. The reason for this, when you've been that low, just think, add things up, look at things in a way, write them down, and once you get an answer, that's a bit better from where you were. Yeah, alright, thanks. Bye.